Today is our first of probably many trainings coming up over the next months, years, etc., as a team and as a family. So within the Engineered Fitness Blueprint, this is our kind of training number one on reverse dieting. Some of you guys have gone through this, some of you have not, but this kind of gives you just like the overall view, even if you haven't gone through it, just so that you understand kind of what it all looks like and, what it means. So just to kind of kick things off, we're going to be discussing reverse dieting. So having gone through it, some are new, some haven't, some are going through one now, some are about to start one soon. And we're really just going to kind of deep dive into what a reverse diet is, when you should be doing it, and ultimately how you can actually implement it, even if you're not working with me. So ultimately, reverse dieting is basically just a nutritional approach, right? It's just another form of a diet, but instead of the traditional fat loss phase or like I'm just going to bulk and eat like shit, it's basically a strategic gradual increase in your calorie intake. So you go from super low calories up to a much higher calorie. And it really revolves around those periods where you're either on super restrictive diets or large periods of time where you've been in a really long calorie deficit and you ultimately aren't seeing the results you want to be seeing anymore. And the goal here really is to just kind of rebuild and restore your metabolism because your body is just like this super, super efficient machine. And so the more times that you're sitting in a low calorie deficit, you're not seeing results and you just keep eating the same way and you should be in a calorie deficit, you should be losing weight. That's because your metabolism has basically said, hey, that's how much you're going to feed me. That's how much I'm going to operate on. And so by reverse dieting, we basically are kind of throwing, fuel onto the fire. Like if you've ever, we're all dudes here. We've all pissed on a fire at the end of the night to put it out. This is the opposite. You're pouring lighter fluid on it to get it to go back up. So your dieting phase is pissing on the fire. You're putting your fire out. And then ultimately a reverse diet is basically just throwing, that lighter fluid back on it, gasoline, and just kind of reigniting that metabolism, which ultimately helps you to kind of get to both achieve and maintain your weight loss results that you ultimately want for a much longer period of time, i.e. forever. Why is this important? Well, one of the biggest things is that it helps avoid the proverbial age-old yo-yo dieting approach and vicious cycle that it is of I'm going to cut my calories super, super low and I'm going to get where I want to get. And then I'm going to sit there for like a month and then I'm going to go back to what I was doing before I started that super restrictive diet and I'm going to put all the weight back on. Adam, I know you've gone through this yourself. The super highs, the super lows, cutting all the calories out, doing all of the things. And this kind of helps combat that and really can help reboost everything. So it ultimately can help you lose weight without really having to worry about regaining all that weight back in 3, 6, 12, 24, or 36 months. There was a study done on the Biggest Loser contestants a few years back where they basically studied them for multiple years after the show. And because of the extreme restrictions that they took and extreme levels of like physical activity they were doing during the show, they found that at the end of it, not only did most of the contestants gain back most of the weight that they lost, but I think it was like 25% of them gained more than they had originally lost. And ultimately, they found out because they had taken such severe approaches without a proper reverse diet maintenance process after the fact, their basal metabolic rate, that BMR, that kind of low level minimum calorie burn, but also the most calorie burn in your regular day, was reduced because their metabolism had adapted to such a low amount of calories. So that is where the reverse diet really kind of helps prevent that metabolic damage. So you're not seeing your BMR go down. You're not having these super long periods of dieting and your body just being like, oh, fuck yourself. I'm going to stop functioning properly. I'm going to start functioning on a lot lower calories, which ultimately, then leads to the proverbial like overall better health and well-being. Now, there's kind of 5 steps that go into a reverse diet to do it properly. The first one is, as we already said, it's a gradual increase in your calories. So working with me, I'm obviously going to handle this for you guys. The general rule of thumb is going to be to increase your calories around 150 to 200 calories every 2 to 3 weeks. But give or take, it's somewhere around like 1 to 2% of your total calorie intake is how much you're going to increase that. And again, it's every 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes you'll go every week. Sometimes you'll go every 4 weeks. Depends on kind of how you're doing. Number two is focusing on nutrient dense foods. So this is going to be your primary fuel source, as it is in a fat loss phase, as it is in a bulk. It doesn't matter. Nutrient dense foods are still incredibly important, because just because you're in a reverse diet, just because you're increasing your calories, doesn't mean you can just turn around and start to eat like an asshole. Always track your progress. You guys already know this. I live and breathe by data. This is how we operate. It is 100% evidence based here. So if I don't have data, I can't make changes. This is incredibly important, especially in a reverse diet, is the combination of weighing yourself as well as your food and taking progress photos is what's going to give us the results. Because if we see that you're weighing yourself consistently and you're tracking your food properly and you're taking progress photos, sometimes the weight might not do anything, but your progress photos will look drastically different. Or your weight might have gone up, but your progress photos still look different. Or you're tracking your food and you go slightly over a couple days in a week and your average ends up going higher. Well, now I know that we can adjust you a little bit higher because your body still maintained around that weight and physique goal, like kind of what we're looking for to be able to maintain. Number four here is obviously staying consistent. As you always know, consistency is far more important than perfection here. Just as we do in our dieting or fat loss phases, consistency is the name of the game here. If you stay consistent and you consistently overeat on the reverse diet, you are way more likely to gain that unwanted weight and fat and be in a worse position. Going back to yo-yo dieting again. So this is really the big piece of it is, and I will wholeheartedly admit I struggle with this myself when I reverse diet. I'm in one right now, and it's like the biggest thing that I have to battle is knowing that like there is still a calorie limit, like still treating it like a fat loss phase. You're like, okay, this is my calorie goal. I can't go over it. This is where I need to be at. Understanding that and sticking to it is a big deal, because if, for example, I'm at 2,100 calories right now reversing, if I just eat 2,300 calories every single day of the week, not only is my coach going to yell at me, but I'm more likely to put on weight and specifically fat because I'm just constantly overeating and I'm putting too much strain on my metabolism because we haven't gotten back to that level of maintenance yet. The last piece here is obviously consult a professional, me. I have a certification in reverse dieting from the Clean Health Institute. I've been through my own reverses, both correctly and incorrectly. Plus, some of the guys on this call and some of the other guys in the program have done reverse diets with me, and they can show you the results themselves. Now, how I implement this and how I ultimately will implement this with you guys is if you are at a point where you need to start a reverse, which some of you are at right now. Robbie, you and I were going to have this conversation yesterday and then today and probably hopefully tomorrow. The first thing I want you to understand about a reverse diet, and this is the one thing that everybody that I have put it through, is the very first thing that I say is this is not a fat loss phase. The goal of a reverse diet is not to lose weight. The goal is to increase those calories to get your metabolic rate back up. Now, that said, there is a very good likelihood that you will lose weight, lose fat, and or just be able to maintain on a significantly higher calorie range, because your body, again, go back to that, throwing gasoline on a fire. Once you do that, what happens? It blows up. It starts burning super, super fast again. That's what's happening. It's just putting an injection of food into your body. So your body is more likely to respond and go, whoa, wait a minute. Hang on a second. I got to start burning this shit off because we didn't have this before. I have fuel again. And it's like, if you take the analogy that I think I've used in the past of like trying to drive a road trip. If you're trying to drive cross country, like if I'm trying to drive from Philadelphia to Colorado to visit Adam, and I only put a quarter of a tank of gas in my car, I'm not going to probably even make it to Pittsburgh. The same thing happens in reverse dieting is we're at this point where you're not seeing the results, you're not going anywhere. And so you need to reverse diet because what you've been doing is you've been eating on a quarter of a tank, and we need to slowly build you back up to get that full tank of gas again. And then you can start to go back into that fat loss phase. So again, you begin with these small increases in your calories. The biggest thing is focusing on hitting that goal. This is no longer, treating our calorie goals as a ceiling. This is a target, i.e. hit it. Which even in fat loss phases, I tell you guys all the time, just because you only are eating, in my example, 2,100 calories, that doesn't mean eat 1,800 and say, well, I ate under my calories today, because the goal is to hit your targets every single day, because that's how we have data. That's how we see the results. The more consistent you are with your nutrition and weighing yourself, the more data we will have on how your body is responding to those increased calories. If you don't track your food for a week and you gain weight, no shit, because you didn't track anything. If you track all of your food, but you didn't track your weight, how do we know if it worked? So being super consistent, making sure that you're weighing at least 4 to 5 times a week. My coach personally doesn't have me weighing a lot, but I find that it's just better to have that data rather than just going off photos, because if your weight consistently on average is going down, it gives us a little bit more flexibility to mess with the calories on a higher, faster pace. And ultimately, every 2 to 3 weeks, calories are going to increase again. That's the goal here. Is we want to get you back to what should be a maintenance calorie goal. So in my case, I think my coach is trying to push me close to like 2,900 calories. He's already told me that he wants me to put on mass. So it includes me putting on weight. But that ultimately is going to give us really great results. And once we go back into a fat loss phase, we can make some really drastic changes and be able to have a lot better result. And if we see slower results, AKA you're maintaining, we're just going to go slower. But again, if you track everything perfectly, you stay consistent, you lose 3 pounds in the first week eating 300 calories more, we're going to leave you alone because your body is still freaking out. But if you keep losing at that pace, we're able to increase calories a lot faster because we need to actually slow it down. The goal is not to lose the weight. The goal is to get you to a point where the calories equal maintenance again. And we need to find that equilibrium. So it may be closer to that every 2 weeks. If you see significant weight changes in those first 2 weeks, we might go closer to two. If you stay more at maintenance, we might stay there at, a certain calorie limit for 3, maybe 4 weeks. Now, that said, when it comes to a reverse diet, the absolute bare bones lowest common denominator number here is you will reverse diet for a minimum of 3 months with me, no matter what. You could be brand new in the program. You're going to reverse for 3 months. You could be finishing your program. I'm going to force you to stay with me because you need to reverse for 3 months, because it's kind of the thought process of if you go up a hill, you got to come back down. Well, it's the opposite. We've gone down the Grand Canyon. We're at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. You got to get back out. It took you 3 months or more to get to the bottom. Now we got to figure out how to get back up. You're not just going to be able to climb that hill, in a couple of matter of weeks or days, which is typically where a lot of people really screw up reverse diets, is they don't treat it as a reverse diet and they treat it as a bulk, and they go from super low calories to just like eating like dog shit again. And they put all this weight back on, they put all these calories back into their body, and they do it super, super short time. Like they reverse diet in like a month, and it doesn't do you any good. You can't build muscle in that. You can't fix your metabolism like that. It puts you in a worse position than actually trying to just do it correctly. Now, ultimately, staying accountable matters. So dropping your goal for the next 14, where did this come from? All right. What the hell did I do here? That's what happens when my training screws up. So that's kind of the end of our training. Super short, super easy. But that said, any questions, comments, concerns? The guys that have gone through reverse diets, I would love to have you kind of just, I'll, stop sharing my screen here. You guys can just jump right in. Those of you that have gone through it, jump in, kind of give your experience with it. How did it go? If you know your results, your numbers, like cool, throw those in. And then for those of you that haven't, or might be soon going into one, like any questions that you have, just feel free to unmute yourselves. This is the floor is yours for the next 44 minutes.
Yeah, I think, now that I think about it, like we kind of reverse dieted when I first started with you, even Spencer, because I was super low on my calories, and that was one of the first things we did was um, increase by probably 1,200, or I don't even remember exactly where I was there, but and immediately saw results there. And then after working with you for 6 months or whatever, 8 months, whatever it was, we went into it again and um, increased. I know it flashed there what I sent you, but increased calories by, I think it was like 1,000 calories, and I maintained and felt better in lifts. And so um, I know I was definitely still transitioning from fat to muscle, but I didn't really gain weight or anytime I think about when I'm going to eat more food for a long period of time, I automatically think like, oh, okay, here we go. I'm going going right back up, right? And that didn't happen. And then when I first started with you, it actually was the opposite. I doubled what I was eating um and dropped weight. So that part of it was cool. You know, it's kind of funny at the beginning when we first started reverse dieting, and then as you keep adding and adding, like, man, I'm eating so much food. So that was part of it too, was kind of the when you eat the right kind of food to get those calories, there's a lot of food in there that can be consumed and a lot of really good food versus in the past when I was um, just eating whatever, right? It doesn't take a whole lot to get a bunch of calories. So that was kind of my initial thoughts, I guess, as we're going through all this stuff.
Yeah, and I remember like when the very beginning was like we didn't even reverse diet. It was a you need to eat more food. Um, and then our like formal proper reverse diet, I remember it was like there were a couple times where you would check in and, you know, for anybody that doesn't know that's listening to this back that's not a client, um, I have a scale of 1 to 7. How do you feel about your weight on the scale this week? And there were a couple times I remember that you would put like 3 or 4. And then when it had like the question was like, why did you rate your like why do you feel that way? You would always say like, well, I don't feel like I feel like I gained weight or I'm not losing. And I would always have to remind you, it's like, we're not in a fat loss phase. But even though you might have gained weight on the average, like we were keeping track of it. I think all in, we reversed you for like 4 months. And I think that overall, we gained like from the first photo to the last photo, I think it was like 0.2 pounds. But over the course of those 4 months, we stayed within 2 to 3 pounds in any direction. Um, and I think that that's like the cool part of like how bodies work is it's like we increased your calories by at least 1,000 calories, um, and your weight pretty much maintained. And now we're back in a fat loss phase, and we're still making some small tweaks, but we're starting to see that trend coming back down to see things going in the right direction again.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think that's where the piece of like, I think about that we added 1,000 calories a day and maintained, right? Didn't like go or even really incrementally go up. Like it was a very little piece there. So yeah, that was kind of cool. A little bit different than anything I've done before,
Yeah,
for sure. So
yeah, because
I like
like
that
the
piece.
the proverbial like everybody always says it. Every fucking fitfluencer on the goddamn internet says it. Oh, a pound of fat's 3,500 extra calories a week. And it's like, okay, my client ate 7,000 extra calories a week and he didn't gain any weight. Metabolisms are weird.
And we didn't. It's not like we increased the cardio by 7,000, or you know what I mean. Like that piece wasn't. It wasn't like, hey, we're adding this, but we're also going to ramp up a ton here. So
Yeah,
like
like
that
it,
didn't. I mean, we changed workouts a little bit, but nothing different than just because as we continue on, things progress, right?
yeah, and some of it is like when you're in a reverse, it gives you the ability because you have a ton of extra calories, and most of the time in a reverse, those calories are coming from carbs and fats. Is it gives you the ability to really utilize those for energy and put extra into your workouts. Like you said at the very beginning, it's like your workouts felt better, you felt better, you add more energy. It's like, yeah, because we had 1,000 more calories a day of energy going into your body. Like that's all the calories are, right? Like that's all carbs and fats are. It's just energy into your body. The protein is to build the muscle. So that's kind of the cool advantage is like we're able to take those extra calories and put them into building muscle. And now I think we're starting to see that on the back end is even if your weight doesn't change on a course of a week, like we've seen some really cool and fairly significant like body fat percentage losses some weeks where it's like, hey, the weight didn't really move, but we saw like a full percent of body fat come off.
Yep. Yep. And that's I was having that conversation today with one of the strength coaches that works right next to you that we work out with on Fridays of like I haven't necessarily seen the scale do a ton of what I want it to at the moment, but the scale is a liar also because I know like I feel better. My arms feel better, my lifts feel better, things like that. So I know there's still that transition piece, and that's where the photos and stuff play a huge role too.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. All right. How
Also,
about you?
can we just applaud Ari for getting his workout in while he's here. He's just getting his pump in, no big deal.
Uh, that I was the one who said 8 o'clock works best for me. So it'd be a little hypocritical if I was like, hey guys, 8 o'clock works best for me to get me stuff done. But yeah, look, you always got to get it in, right? The reverse diet for me, and Spence, I kind of messaged you this, but like it's like a really cool feeling because, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but how many calories you had me on in the beginning? I don't know. Let's call it, I don't know, 1,700, 1,800. Maybe
I
I'm
think
way
we
off
were
on that,
I think
but
we were like 1850 at the bottom of your cut.
yeah. And then like every week it was like another 100, another 150. And like in my head, that means I can have a half a pint of ice cream or like whatever the math comes out to. And I'm pretending like I don't know the math, but of course I do. But like I would be adding calories every week, or sorry, yeah, adding calories every week, and like I was still losing weight, which is not the purpose of it, but like it's because my body was still trying to figure out baseline. Um, but yeah, it was pretty awesome, man. And another point that I had mentioned, and not that Spencer needs any of our kind of kudos or any of our uh user reviews, if you will, because like the proof is in the pudding. But like in the beginning, like, and I'm sure it's similar to a lot of the guys who are either on here or clients, but like I didn't know Spencer, right? Like I met him, Instagram messaged, all right, let's do this thing, right? Obviously loved that he was listening to my needs, but like I didn't know anything. And he like cut me down and then was bringing me up, and I didn't know what was going on, but like all I knew is that I was seeing results of something that didn't even really make sense to me. It was like, hey, we're going to increase your calories, but you may lose some weight. I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like everything I knew was like net calories goes down, weight goes down. Net calories go up, weight goes up. Like that was to me like that's like caveman talk. Like right, I take big stick, hit something, and it breaks. So it's like same thing. Like I eat less, I lose weight. So then to like see that like using his methods, using the methods that we were given, that like I'm still going to get results. Just trust the guide, if you will, or just trust kind of the what was Philly saying? Trust the process. Like just put your faith in the process. To me, that was like the first time that I was like, oh shit, this like really works. Like, you know what I mean? All I have to do, and again, all makes it sound simple, but all I have to do is follow the plan that Spencer is setting out for me, or and stick to it. Days that are cheat days, it happens. No one's perfect, and like you said, consistency is more important than perfection. But like sticking to a plan, you see results. It's pretty freaking cool. You know what I mean? Like, not that I wasn't expecting to see results through the program, but like counterintuitive results was like an extra bonus.
What I think with you, because you have like the world's fastest metabolism on the planet somehow, um, we kind of pushed your reverse pretty hard. I think we were like 18 or 1850 at your lowest when we started to reverse. And then we pushed it for 6 months maybe. And we got you up to like 3,100, 3,200 calories, I think. Like we pushed you well over 1,000 calories over your cut. And then I remember, I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, I sent you a message and was like, hey, dude, just curious. You weigh the same amount that you did when you started the program. How do you feel?
Yeah, I distinctly remember that. So, you're 100% right. I was right now I'm at like just shy of 3,000 calories. But during this cut or this reverse diet, we definitely were over 3,000, 3,100. I think you're right. 3,100, maybe 3,200. Um, and by the way, that all was consumed in like a 3 hour window, which is not easy to do. So some cheat codes there, but we can get into that at a different time. But anyway, to your point, I like so like weight would go down and then eventually would flatten out or wherever it was, and then like you said, at one point we were back to kind of where we started, but like how I felt, B, the weight that I was lifting in the gym was like probably at least double of where when I started. My body just looked completely different. Um, Getting compliments, from all different places. Like it just like it's funny. So like I think I started. What was that? Like 153, 154, somewhere in that ballpark when we started. I think it's like right
Yeah.
there. And I was at like 155 when like you and I had this conversation, and like I could tell you, I felt exponentially better than when I did when we first started. Like it was unbelievable. Felt better, looked better, and again, like I said, lifting like significantly heavier weights. Um, and so like sometimes it's not just what the scale says. And like I know like the scale, it's a double-edged sword, right? So on one hand, the data is awesome, and like this way you could always use the data to help you. But on the other hand, sometimes it's a little bit of a mind fuck, right? Like you're like, wait a minute, I lost no weight or I gained, you know, 4/10 of a pound. I've been crushing it. You know what I mean? Like I've been gold bars across the board. I've been hitting workouts. Like, what's going on here? But like, and it took me a little bit. Like at one point, I think I don't know where it was, but like I dipped down somewhere in like the high 130s, and at some point, maybe we were putting on some weight, maybe we were bulking, and like it started to go up the scale. And like there was like a voice inside of my head for no good reason, being like, "Hey Ari, like careful, like you don't want to get too high." You don't like, but like the reality is like those numbers don't mean anything. Proof in the pudding is like I'm back to where I started, but like I'm worlds different. You know what I mean? So like again, the numbers are good for data, and I think it's just super important, and it's not easy to do. And even I get lost in kind of some of those numbers sometimes, but like to really not put stock in a specific number, either as a goal or as a just where you are, but just understanding that this is just a journey. There's a process, and if you trust it, good things are going to happen. And like I said, like good things happen.
Yeah. So I just pulled it up. So April 22nd, 2023, just over, at
Yeah,
this point, 14 months ago, you weighed 153.1. This
yeah,
morning, you weighed in at like 155.
yeah. That sounds right.
What by the way,
But
what are you hitting in the gym right now? What workout?
leg day. I skipped Monday. I had a board meeting late, so everything got pushed today. So I'm on leg day today.
All right, did you squat today?
Yeah.
Well, how much did you squat today?
So like my number's a little wonky because we moved over from so I didn't have the historic, but I think I did. I not I think I did 4 sets of 8 at 175, and probably could have gotten more than that. Like
So
eight was my limit, and I probably could have pushed it to like 185.
so April 26th, 2023, 4 sets of 8, you capped out at 105.
Oh, what a fucking puss! Oh wow.
So 1 year later, you've gained 2 pounds, but you put 70 to 80 pounds in your squat.
Yeah, almost double of what, like, you know what I mean? Like you're talking eight, basically increase it by 180%, right? Or maybe
I
80%, or
don't know.
whatever it is.
You're
But
the finance guy. You should know
yeah,
this.
it's true. Well, it depends on how you look at it. But like the
Where's your
increase was
calculator?
80%, but
Grab your
the
calculator. You'll
increase
get
was
it.
80%. But if you look at the total, it's 180% of where I started. But anyway, the point is like it's silly, like the results that I've seen. Not silly. You follow the program, you get results. But Spencer, I think like the point is, I'm up in weight, but like who cares? And by the way, I say that now. Am I on mute? No, I say that now. Like it took me a while to to get that who cares mentality, and that's when I was in like the low 140s. So like it doesn't matter where. Like you could be at 200, you could be at 300, you could be at 100, you could be at 50. Like I think everyone struggles with their own self image, and just realizing that like the numbers on the scale, again, if you're doing nothing and sitting on the couch eating McDonald's every day, the number on the scale matter. But like if you're in a program, you're doing what you're supposed to do, those numbers are really more for Spencer. They're not really for you, you know?
And look at those shoulders and that bicep and that horseshoe you got on the backside. And
We're doing good. We're doing good. We're I 3 more weeks and then I got to cut. I don't know what I'm going to do. I
The
don't know
only
how.
person in America that can go to the gym on leg day and get a bicep pump.
It probably just means I'm doing the exercises wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, like, all right, like we're a couple weeks out from starting your next cut to lean in from basically the 4th of July through Labor Day. Like, we're just gonna cut through the end of the summer, and you know, we'll hit Labor Day and probably just coast through Christmas, and then be like, all right, cool, let's do the same shit. Let's reverse you back and just keep going through this cycle. Like, you know, who knows? We might be talking again in friggin' June of 2025 and you're squatting 235.
Yeah, and I think again, like not to belabor this point because I think everyone gets it, but like so this year I think the highest in this as part of this like bulk on I think I hit 160 or something. Next year when we do the same thing, maybe I'll hit 175, 180. But like again, it's not the scale that matters anymore. It's just how I feel, how I look. And more importantly, the numbers to me that matter is like the weight, not my weight, the weight up that like I'm lifting, whether it's bicep curls, squats, deadlift, whatever it is. But like that number, as long as that keeps going up, I know I'm doing something right.
I think that's the same thing I was talking about earlier today too with Kyler is the guy's name, but that and the mindset of it, right? Like I think that piece of like and Spencer and I've talked about this many times, but like I trust Spencer wholly, right? And I'm the same way. I didn't know Spencer. I don't even if I'm being 100% honest, I don't even know how I found you. I don't remember. Like I don't know if it popped up on an Instagram ad or somebody. I don't even know. But going all in and trusting the process and knowing that like things are working and are just like you said, my weights in the gym are going up. Like I know I'm getting stronger. I know that my arms look better. I know that I feel better, that kind of stuff, which in the end is way more important than the number that I see on the scale. Um, I grew up as a wrestler, and so I'm addicted to the scale, which sucks. Um, and so that piece of it's tough at times, and that's something that's just a personal thing that I'm working through still, and probably will always fight that. But also understanding and knowing that that's just a small piece of it and isn't anywhere close to the most important thing. But knowing that the results in the gym and how I feel and people, I hate compliments, but people saying things, it's like, okay, yeah, it's working. Like it's doing what it's supposed to do. And that's definitely way more important.
Dude can't even mute himself when he goes and hits a set. Jesus.
We're over here trying to have a heart to heart, and all we hear is Ari grunting, doing his hip thrusts or whatever he's doing. I don't even know.
Sorry about that. That's my fault. That's
I'm
terrible
just gonna
Zoom etiquette.
clip
That's
that and make that background audio of every single reel that I post for the next month.
I think one of the things for me this morning too, talking about the mindset, like I don't know why, but this morning I hit everything and I felt good with it, but it just was slow. Like normally, because today was leg day for me too. Normally I think that takes me like 50 minutes, maybe an hour. And this morning was like an hour and 20 minutes, but there wasn't any question that I was going to get it done. It was just like, okay, I'm going to slow down a little bit, and it just was what it was, but it was still getting it done. So that's part of the mindset thing I think too that comes into play as I continue to improve and know like, hey, yeah, this is what I need to do and what I'm going to do. Um, so that was something that stood out to me this morning as I was getting stuff in.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that too is like not only just workout wise, but like the training piece or the nutrition piece, right? Like I remember when we first talked, like you brought up like the scale thing. It's like I remember when we first started working together, there was a couple days where like I basically had to like to put a picture in somebody's head, like I basically had to sit you down and be like, if you weigh yourself a second time today, I'm gonna fucking fly to Colorado and punch you. Like, stop it. Because on my side, when I open the dashboard, I get whatever weight you inserted first. When I then click on it to go to like your data, if you changed it, then I'll see that it changed. And for the first like month, you would wake up, you'd weigh yourself, it would track, And then you would turn around, go work out, and then weigh yourself after you worked out. And I kept having to yell at you, be like, dude, stop getting back on the scale. Because at the end of the day, that's not what we need. Like, I just need the number. I need one number. And it was eventually we got to the point where it's like, okay, like I'm gonna weigh myself once. It is what it is. Um, but like then coming into the reverse diet, like I don't think you ever said it out loud, but I have a feeling that you were like, you want to do what? And just like the mindset of like, wait, so you want, we're not, we're gonna, oh, okay. You sure? And like the conversation of like, hey, listen, like I know we're down 30 pounds, but we're gonna reverse diet because I want to increase your calories by like 1,000 again, and then go from there. Like what for you, like where you have been, like your journey and everything like that, that for anybody that listens to this after the fact, like go back to the podcast episode or whatever, like you can listen to Adam's journey there. But like for you, what was like that kind of initial thought process and mindset when I was like, hey, we want a reverse diet and this is what that means? Like what was that for you?
Yeah, I think it was the like, I trust you and I know you know what you're talking about, but it was also like, okay, like we're gonna add in more because my goal, right? Ari, we've talked about this obviously before. Go listen to the podcast, you hear all of it, but my goals are a lot different than your goals. My body's a lot different than your body, right? So things there, and so it's like my whole thought process, my mindset was around fat loss, and then you're like, oh yeah, we're actually going to tell you to eat more food again after we've pulled some off of you and things like that. And it was like the I guess I was nervous, as I kind of think like, okay, we're gonna do it, but like, what's the scale gonna say? Because again, that's for years and years, that's been my thing. Even after I was done wrestling, right? When I was in high school, I was wrestling and I had to weigh in all the way to when I was 400 plus and everywhere in between. Like the scale's always been something that I've jumped on multiple times a day. I don't anymore. Because Spencer came out to Colorado and oh no, he didn't actually, but almost.
I did come to Colorado, but it
Well, he
wasn't for
did.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
did.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, he did. He
I was gonna
did.
say he came out to Colorado to punch me, but didn't quite have to.
I got
We
stuck at a
got it
baseball
figured
game
out.
instead.
Dude, I was so bummed I couldn't make it that night. I was like, I was excited for that, but well, it'll happen. Um, but yeah, I guess I was nervous, as I kind of think about that. It's just like, okay, I trust you, but also what's gonna happen? Like, what's am I on this roller coaster again? Am I gonna just see this again? And that's not what I want ever again in my life. So I guess that was my I trusted you, but it was a cautious feeling still in that voice in the back of your head, like, I don't know if this is what you should be doing, but okay, let's give it a shot, see what happens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I think
think
that's it.
I think I remember. I don't know. I didn't even remember when exactly it was. But you had sent me like a video of basically being like, you told me that you were going to nearly double my calories when we started, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to prove you wrong, and you didn't. And I feel like you probably had like a little bit of that with like the reverse, where you're like, all right, cool, we can increase my calories, but like I'm gonna gain weight again, and I'm gonna show you like that's how this works. Like I eat more and I gain weight, and then like the realization of like, oh shit, I was eating 1,000 more calories and I maybe gained like half a pound on average.
I think that's where the nutrition piece comes into, because I know in the very first conversation we had, I told you that's always been my biggest thing is the nutrition. And um 1,000 calories, this is where you go back to that 3,500 is a pound of fat, right? 1,000 calories is not 1,000 calories, because if I'm eating 1,000 calories of good, nutritious, hearty food that's actually designed for your body to do it, versus if I go get a Big Mac and fries. I haven't eaten McDonald's, I don't know how long, but a Big Mac and fries, that's 1,000 calories. That's a whole different animal. And so making sure it's the correct 1,000 calories too makes a huge difference, because then your body's actually working the way that it's supposed to. So if I would have just in the past gone and added 1,000 calories, that's what it was. It wasn't chicken and beef and veggies and that kind of stuff. It was cool. I can go get a large blizzard and a whatever, you know what I mean? So that's one of the big differences there, I think, too, for sure. And where I've always struggled in that nutrition piece, and where I finally reached out was like, hey, I know how to work out. I know how to do that stuff. I can figure a lot of that out. Um, how do I hone in on the proper food and proper nutrition for my body to actually work the way it's supposed to?
It's I always love I don't think I'm by no means am I taking credit for this quote. I heard it somewhere and it's just always stuck is like you don't put, like fryer oil in a Lamborghini and expect it to go anywhere. So why the fuck are you putting fryer oil in your body and expecting it to go anywhere? And it's like the concept and the mindset that is tough to adopt, but like once you can start to truly like shift how your brain thinks of your body is like, no, my body is a machine. It is a giant engine that has a million moving parts in it and it controls everything. And the better fuel I put into a car, a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, whatever, like you put premium plus fuel into that car because if you put just regular gasoline in it, you're going to fuck up the engine. Once you can start to make that shift in your body and your mindset to be like, oh, my body is like a Lamborghini. I've been putting regular gasoline in it for decades. If I start putting the premium and premium plus in, I'm going to get better results. I'm going to get more mileage out of it. I'm going to get further with it. I'm going to the overall vehicle is going to operate better, right?
Yeah, I don't even know that I would say I was putting regular gasoline. I think I was putting fryer oil. I was putting whatever bacon grease or whatever other bullshit I could find in there. So
Yeah,
wasn't even
was it
getting
corn
like,
oil?
yeah, whatever it is. Wasn't even getting the like half the performance or whatever. Because yeah, there were definitely lots and lots of years of garbage and garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah. And then there's Ari over here that'll eat a pint of ice cream tonight and still lose weight.
Hey, dude, you turned me on to that Halo Top though, and I've added that into mine now. It is delicious. Although I guess I grabbed one that's the keto friendly one. That's not the same.
So
That's a
yeah,
lot different. I didn't realize it. I haven't eaten it, but
so A, they're not the same. B, I don't think they taste as good. C, their calorie count is way higher. And D, I have found that they're even more expensive. So, like, bang for your buck, not worth it. If you like those, like I said, Target brand favorite day. I don't know if it's a Target brand or if it's just sold at Target, but favorite day ice cream, they have like this, it's like the same macros and it's like a couple of bucks cheaper per pint. So like Halo Top by me might have been like $6 or six
It's
fifty
like
a pint,
550 or something around me. Yeah.
something like that. Yeah. So like favorite day is closer to like three. It's like under $4. And so s'mores is one flavor that I love, and chocolate peanut butter is another great flavor. Um, I haven't really ventured outside of those, but yeah, but like calorie, like look, you're not gonna get your 10% protein, but like a pint that's like 360 grams of 360 calories is like 23 or 26 grams of protein. That's not bad, especially for a dessert.
And that's a whole pint.
Yeah,
Like that's
correct.
not a serving out of the pint. Like
yeah.
that is
No,
true
I think
like
this.
truly like the accurate serving size like per container. 1 pint of ice cream is not
Yeah,
multiple servings. Whoever thought it
yeah. So
was is wrong.
well, like yeah, like the serving size I think is a half a cup, and it's 4 cup. It's 2 cups. So it's like 4 servings worth. But the numbers I gave you are the full pint, are like the full. Because the other piece is like I can't measure the ice cream, and like once I take it out, like it's just so much easier to measure the full thing. I know exactly what I'm eating.
Yeah, which means that you actually have to figure out the peanut butter trick, which is you measure the pint on the scale at 0, and then you
Oh, and
scoop it
scoop it up.
out and go to negatives. I've been having
Ah,
to do that with my peanut butter lately because it's at the bottom of the jar.
yeah,
You
it's
put it
tougher
on,
to.
you tear it to 0, and then you
It's
scoop
not
out
bad.
whatever you're going to eat. And then you take whatever the negative is, that's how many grams or ounces that you just took out of that container.
That's not a bad one. That's a pretty good trick. I'm shocked I haven't thought of that one. That's actually pretty
Yeah.
smart.
The other trick that I will throw out there, and this is a free bonus to everybody that listens to the recording here. I just had this conversation with Tyler last night. He was talking about like all this food that he's been cooking with his wife, and now that he's finally back into our app, I told him to make sure that he hits up the group chat because I know Ari, you live and breathe by the friggin' recipe packs. Um, but I was like, when you cook some of those, like it might say like, oh, it's 8 servings. And like that's a pain in the ass to figure out, like, okay, well, how much is a serving? How do I separate it? Like, do I have to create 8 packs? Like, what am I doing here? And so I was like, here's the trick. Create the recipe in MyFitnessPal. And when all is said and done, everything is cooked, done, ready to go. You put whatever container you're going to store it in on your scale, tear it to 0, put all the food in it, and then go back into MyFitnessPal and the recipe. And however many grams are in that container is how many servings you make MyFitnessPal. And then every single time that you take something out of it, all you have to do is measure how many grams you took out of the container. And that's how many quote unquote servings you just took for MyFitnessPal. And it will automatically do the math to tell you how many macros you actually just ate.
Yeah, that's literally that's exactly what I do. Like I obviously follow the recipe to the T, but then like I don't care if it says, whatever it is. Like you said, I don't care. I'll measure it afterwards, figure out the macros for the entire thing. Excuse me, and I'll typically then break it down into like 100-gram servings in like the recipe in Trainerize, because like that's pretty easy. 100, 200, 300, whatever the grams are. But uh but yeah, that's exactly what I do. So this way, because I'm eating a lot of calories in one sitting, like my serving size could be like 6 servings or something. You know what I mean? So like it's easier for me just to do it in grams as opposed to like serving sizes.
Right. Yeah, that's always a good trick that I've learned over the years is to just make the recipe the total cooked number, because like I've done it too is like excuse me, like the crock pot chicken fajita that I know Ari you make like at least once or twice a week. Like you live and breathe by that stuff. And like whenever I make it, if I took the exact food that I cook and measure and then you cook your version, our macros would be slightly different because you might use more or less chicken. I might trim more fat off of my chicken. And at the end of the day, even if I don't, like I might use salsa brand X, you use salsa brand Y. That's the macros are slightly different. So it's like the macros in the recipe packs are great. They're a good reference for you. But I always still recommend like if you're gonna use like the recipe packs that I have that I give out to people, specifically to clients, but to just anybody in general. Like if you get access to my 5 ingredient recipe pack, like create that recipe in MyFitnessPal with the ingredients that you're actually using, not just assuming that the macros are correct and scanning the barcode, because it's not always going to be perfect, because like a pineapple salsa is going to be slightly different than, the extra hot salsa from your local farmer's market type of thing.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. That specific recipe I probably have once a week, at least 4 times a month, maybe sometimes 5 times. Like it's so easy, it's so good. You throw it with rice, you hit a lot of and avocado, and for me, now that I'm tracking all 4 macros, like it checks a lot of boxes. It's got a shit ton of protein. So yeah, so it's but yeah, but I totally agree with that approach. And for me, so I don't really. My wife cooks a lot. I didn't. I Before I started with this, I didn't really cook much. But for me, like dipping my toe into both tracking nutrition and starting to kind of cook more for myself, the 5 ingredient recipe pack was like a lifesaver, because it gave me like some really easy recipes, because again, only 5 ingredients, and stuff that like was easy for me to track. You know what I mean? So it was like setting myself up for success early on. Spencer, you and I've talked about this. Like, if I had to do full macro tracking in the beginning, I probably would have quit. Not because it's hard, but because like I just had zero experience with it, and like the planning like the planning now is easy, but like that's because I've been, how long have I been doing it? 3 months now, maybe
A
two,
little bit.
whatever it
Yeah,
is.
for the first couple of weeks, it was a little bumpy. You were like, I'm still
Yeah,
still
no,
trying to figure out how to do this.
yeah, no, yeah, but eventually you learn. But like again, like when I first started with the program a little over a year ago, I was not going to the gym. I was not ever focused on nutrition. I was just eating whatever I wanted. So like to start adding additional things to my day, meaning workouts and then like tracking food and like it definitely would have been too much, but those recipe packs were huge, especially, I mean, I obviously still use them today because you see them pop up weekly, but in the beginning, they were like ginormous for me to be able to stay on track.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's like one of the things that's like going to be coming back is like more recipe packs coming out for you guys. Um, coming out too. So
I need to actually get in and use some of that stuff more. That would be phenomenal.
yeah, now you got a lot more food.
Yeah. It's a great resource that I just really haven't tapped into for no particular reason. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I mean,
next
Adam,
week.
like if you have things that work for you, then like it's fine. But like I found every month that a recipe pack came out, I found out at least one, usually two recipes that like I started to put into my regular rotation. There's probably, you know, there were recipes that I liked more, um, like that I liked more than just one or two of them, but I would say one or two almost every month became staples. Um, yeah, and like again, like they just hit the spot. So, and they're all easy to follow. And like if an idiot like me can cook them, then anyone can.
Yeah, and that's I would literally I think today I was thinking about it on my way home from work. I was like, I was gonna hit you up because I know that you use the recipe packs like regularly, and I was gonna hit you up and like be like, all right, cool. What ones do you cook on a regular basis? And like break all the recipe packs up and like put them all together as like a client's greatest hits recipe pack. Like even if it's only like 7 or 8 recipes, but it's like, hey, like these are the recipes that like my clients use literally every single week and they have for over a year. Like these are the top recipes. Here you go.
So, but by the way, so anything in a slow cooker, you can't see me. I'm just adjusting the weights, but anything in a slow cooker for me is like a no brainer. You know what I mean? Like I could even set it before I go to work or whatever it is. Like it, it's amazing. Um, and it also requires the least amount of cleanup, right? Because you're just dumping everything in. So those are always bad. And which again, the fajita is the slow cooker, so it works well. But yeah, I could definitely go back through and like grab a bunch that I use regularly. That wouldn't be too hard.
Cool. I don't want to keep you guys any more than the hour. So, uh, any last words, questions, comments, concerns around reverse dieting, Gala Fitness in general? Anything you guys got?
No, I was just gonna say I love the reverse diet. And I'd say for anyone who's just questioning it, like just trust the process. That like the results will come. Don't rush it. Don't question it. But just trust the process.
Awesome.